Yeah,
Back.
back at it,
Back
guys.
at it like a good snack habit.
Like a good giving season snack habit. I want to make something,
I
guys.
want to make something,
I want to make
guys. What
something
do you want?
paleo with
Paleo.
some cane sugar, maybe, or
Cane
something with
sugar.
honey and agave, but something good. Maybe like pumpkin with a graham cracker crust and some Cool Whip or something. I'm looking forward to that. I love pumpkin. Don't you guys love pumpkin too?
Do you remember the
What's
first
going
time you
on,
tried to
guys?
make them medicine balls and then when nobody eating them?
What medicine balls?
Remember you used to call them medicine balls? They was something they were, I don't know what you put together, but it was all made from scratch and you had them in the fridge and nobody would eat them thing.
Nobody. It was just me and you. What you mean, nobody?
Yeah, I'm the other person.
You were probably eating them. It's not too much he gonna pass up, y'all.
Them things were about to, they, you
I
know,
don't remember those. Where were
you
we
know when
living?
there's so many of them that the top is about to pop off.
Where were we living?
Right here.
No, we weren't here.
Yeah, we
I
did.
haven't made anything like that here.
Well, you
Or
right.
was I?
This was the second course of medicine balls you made right here at this apartment. But the
I
other
don't
place you made
remember.
them, that's when that's
Medicine balls?
that's what you called them. You called them medicine
I
balls.
didn't call them
Yes, you
that.
did.
They must have been when I was doing keto and they were like peanut butter balls. Was those them?
Peanut butter balls.
I think that's what it was. Oh my gosh, y'all. I have tried so many things.
Yeah, you have.
I have. But hey,
Some
that's how
have
you
been
know
super
what
wins.
works.
Some have been like okay, and
Keto.
some have been flop.
It's hard to be a vegetarian or a vegan on keto. I'm sorry. And that's been my lifestyle for over 20 something years now. And I'm not ever going to change that. But being a vegetarian and doing keto ain't it. Because you're eating a lot of processed burgers, you're eating the tofu. No. And that just kind of blows your carb count. So
Plus,
that wasn't it for
plus
me.
all that processed foods, and then you not hitting your what you trying to
Yeah, and I
accomplish.
didn't really see the wins. It was better to just to do the eggs. But anyway.
God made this stuff that walk around on earth for a reason, one for just us to eat grass. I tried to go there for a minute, but I realized that
Grass.
no, you know,
Oh, you mean your body type?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you go right
grass
ahead and
eater.
eat grass, but I don't eat grass. Thank you.
Hey, so look, listen. I know in the past we did the one with the British Crusades. So this one I want to do the British colonization of Africa. It says
Mm,
animated history, so I guess it's going to be more animated, and I hope it's
okay.
highly accurate because every time we do a video and this is not accurate, this is not accurate. We don't know. We didn't make the video. So but I see about 2 million people watch this. So let's look.
And you need to tell me which ones people say it's not accurate so I can go and fact check and pull up some empirical
Fact check
evidence.
it.
Yes. So I can go and pull up
Some
some
empiricals.
real facts
Some empiricals.
or other resources
Let me move my chair.
to fact check. But I will say, I do remember quite a bit. Let me not say quite a bit, y'all. Let me
What?
just be honest. I do remember some.
What?
It may be quite a bit. I don't know. I'm going to say some information I remember from, history in college because there was a lot of history courses that you took. And some of the slavery I remember and some I don't.
Gotcha.
But if someone says that that's not accurate, then either provide a source where you have more accurate
Exactly.
information.
Now
That's
that's
what
it.
you do. So if that's not accurate, provide a link where we can go and get another source to check what we just did.
Exactly.
Or say, okay, it's not true. So then you just go and pull up a couple of comments and say that and send it to me, and I'll go and pull up a reputable source. So we can come back with you guys and fact check it and say, okay, well, yeah, you're right, or no, you weren't right, and this is what this other source says.
It's just like you used to
Because I
tell
mean,
me.
that's how you learn.
Remember, you used to tell me, you was like, man, if you don't have no solution to it, then why even talk?
But
You
that's
don't have
how
no
you
solution.
learn. Yeah. Because if
Complaints
you're just
without
saying
solution is
something,
are
if you're
dead
just
words.
saying that it's not right, and you just talking out the side of your neck, that's pointless. Give us a source to go and pull up something reputable, if that's the case.
Yeah. Facts.
Lego.
No complaints.
Capital of Sudan is about to fall. Khartoum's garrison of 7,000
Oh,
men
this is
has
cool.
held out for almost a year, but the walls have finally been breached, and 50,000 modest soldiers are marching through the streets, cutting down defenders and civilians alike. Standing on the steps of his palace and dressed in his ceremonial uniform, Governor General Charles Gordon waits patiently for his enemy to arrive.
Charles?
Alone, except for a single bodyguard, he knows this will be his last stand. While his career has been illustrious in the eyes of the British Empire, decades of hardship has left Governor Charles a tired, broken man who is bitterly aware of how many enemies the British have made due to their persistent expansion across the globe. He knows that he will not be the last man to suffer this fate. As long as the British Empire has commercial interests overseas, men like him will be expected to sacrifice their time, their careers, and even
A
their
revolver.
lives in the name of imperialism.
357 Magnum.
Ooh, look at
About
that
38
spear.
Right.
Spear.
That gun gonna pop quicker though.
Depends on how fast the arm is. They will.
In Africa did not start with a spectacular battle between empires, but rather with meetings in the counting houses of London in 1618. English King James I granted a monopoly on all business conducted in West Africa to the London-based Guinea Company. This enterprise operated for the rest of the 17th century, trading primarily in gold, timber, and slaves. These mercantile ventures were the sole presence England had in Africa until after the American War for Independence, which launched the empire into a colonization fever. However, due to the inconvenient fact that European settlers had a tendency to die of horrible diseases if they so much as came within sight of the coastline, the
Wow.
first British colony in Africa, Sierra Leone,
Wow,
was
look at that.
populated by only 1,000 freed slaves.
Wow.
With disease-deterring immigration, the British struggled to establish further colonies in Africa, but they remained
Gone.
keenly aware of the potential profits a successful undertaking might bring. In the end, much of Britain's work had already been done for them. The Dutch had established a foothold in the southernmost tip of Africa as far back as 1652. Their settlement, Cape Town, allowed the Dutch to monopolize the lucrative spice trade in India and Asia. But when revolutionary France, with whom the crown was at war, subjugated the Netherlands in 1795, Britain saw the perfect opportunity to annex Cape Town under the pretense of denying the French access to India. 2 squadrons of warships were quickly dispatched to secure the colony, which was then formally integrated into the empire in 1814. While Cape Town was the largest settlement of South Africa, it did not automatically grant the British control over the region. Despite
cool.
an initial promise to not interfere with local affairs, magistrates soon began implementing new laws and regulations, only written in English, causing discontent among the Dutch-speaking settlers who felt that their cultural identity was being deliberately suppressed.
They was trying to write them out.
British authority was further compromised by Dutch farmers when they had migrated inland in search of greener, or in this case browner, pastures. Known later in history as the Boers, these farmers were fiercely independent, with many having fled religious persecution in their home country to start a new life. Another major point of contention between the existing settlers and their new
Look at that.
rulers was over the issue of slavery, which had been legal under the Dutch administration. While hardly innocent of the practice itself, the British Empire was now moving steadily in the direction of abolition. When slavery was finally declared illegal in 1833, it sparked a massive exodus from Cape Town called the Great Trek, with thousands of settlers leaving to found new independent republics as far
With them same slaves that they supposed to have let free. Look at them. They're like, nope, we're going over here. What you thinking so far?
Just listening. Just listening.
British rule as possible. This great migration would only delay the inevitable, however, as within decades the British would again be seeking to assert their dominance over the region. For now, however, the British sought to expand their holdings back in West Africa. Inevitably, they came into conflict with the local powers. One of these was the Asante Empire, located in modern Ghana. After years of simmering hostility, the Asante finally provoked the British into open conflict in
He got-
1824.
oh, he got that
when
fire.
they murdered an African officer serving in a local unit of the British Army. In
Yo.
response, the governor of Sierra
Well,
Leone,
you saw that?
Charles McCarthy, led a force of about 3,000 men to crush what he saw as nothing more than a group of upstart savages. Unfortunately for Sir Charles, this was not to be his legacy. Instead, he would attain an altogether less dignified place in history when he and his men were slaughtered by 10,000 Asante when they tried to cross the Pra River. The Asante king then turned McCarthy's skull into a rather elegant gold-trimmed drinking cup, which he would enjoy for years to come.
Whoa.
Stop it.
Oh,
Now,
my God.
That is brutal.
Brutal.
That is cold-blooded.
Drink out your head every time you...
Oh, my gosh.
But after an unsuccessful incursion by the Asante in the Second Battle of Accra, in which they were driven back by Congreve rocket systems, the Asante signed a treaty with the British in 1831, establishing the Pra River as the natural border between their two territories. The treaty would last 30 years.
They
with
brought the
large-scale
missiles and
conflict
rethought
avoided
that.
until the British again interfered with Asante trade by acquiring the Dutch Gold Coast colony, prompting a native incursion. The British retaliated with a 2,500-man force. Decisively defeating the Asante in 2 engagements, they went on to capture their capital city of Kumasi.
Ah.
After wandering through the vast royal palace and admiring its extensive collection of books and beautiful artwork,
They got
the
skulls
British
all in
soldiers took great care in demolishing it with explosives. Hopefully somebody remembered to retrieve poor Sir Charles McCarthy's skull from the palace beforehand.
Stop.
Oh.
Asante effectively beaten,
Nope. Nobody retrieved that one.
Wow.
the British Empire turned its attention back southwards. The sudden discovery of diamonds near the town of Kimberley led the British to aggressively expand their control over the region, at expense of both the African natives and the local Boer republics. In 1874, the British government tasked their Secretary of State for the colonies, Henry Herbert, with organizing the Boer settlements in South Africa into a federation. This federation, they reasoned, could then be governed as one state, giving the British de facto control over all of the diamond mines in the region. Naturally, the defiant Boers were less than thrilled by this proposal. Henry Herbert was therefore forced to turn his attention to the other looming obstacle to British control over the region, the Zulu. Known in history as one
Not
of
the
Britain's
Zulu.
most stalwart adversaries on the African continent, the Zulu kingdom had first risen to prominence in the early 1800s under the leadership of King Shaka, and had already come
Wow.
to Boers later in the century. Although not as acquainted with firearms as the Asante, the Zulu fielded a highly disciplined army numbering in the tens of thousands.
Wow.
But despite their formidable strength, English officials such as Henry Bartle Frere attempted to provoke the Zulu into a conflict that could justify annexation. In 1877, the Boer Republic of Transvaal was occupied, and with their new acquisition, the British sent an ultimatum demanding the natives to disband their entire army and accept British authority. To the surprise of nobody, the reigning Zulu king, Cetshwayo, rejected these absurd demands.
Right.
Needed for an invasion. 2 years later, a force of 1,800 British soldiers marched into Zulu lands.
Wow.
They were immediately sent scrambling right back out again after suffering a crushing defeat at the Battle of Islandwan.
Oh man, I
Britain's
thought
worst ever.
I thought it was gonna be the other way around because they got five.
Please, I just said that they fought with them spears, boy.
Boy, apparently, because if you done beat a whole gang, they got fire.
They had, look, by the time they done pull the thing back.
Because look, back then, look, you shot one round, now you gotta pour some stuff, pack
Exactly,
it.
gone. They done got 5 or 6 spears
Whoo!
out while you trying to reload,
You got it,
shift,
look.
turn, pull back.
They had to dodge that one shot, but all that
Oh,
reload process. But have you ever
man.
seen when they loaded them old guns, how much time it took?
Exactly. I could just look at it and
Them
see.
World War guns.
Colonial losses. This defeat was caused by a combination of several factors, but chief among them was the British overconfidence and their lack of familiarity with the local terrain. This led to their columns being swiftly outmaneuvered by Zulu warriors, who were able to conceal themselves until the perfect moment to strike with overwhelming force. Total disaster was
stand a
only averted
chance.
by the defense of Rorke's Drift, where 150 British soldiers held off 4,000 native braves in a grueling 12-hour siege.
Oh!
British learned the lessons of Islandwana well, and in just a few months, a second invasion of Zululand began. This time, their advance was methodical, denying their enemy any chance of an ambush. On July 4th, 1879, Zulu warriors rallied in defense of their capital city, Ulundi, but with British cavalry screening their flanks and both artillery and machine guns supporting their line of fire, the ensuing battle was a total defeat for the natives.
Wow. Oh,
course.
trampled. Oh.
Cetshwayo was then deposed, and his vast kingdom added to the long list of British acquisitions in Africa. The next year, it was the Boers' turn to rise up against the empire. An armed rebellion broke out in the occupied Transvaal Republic in 1880, eventually escalating into what can best be described as a guerrilla war. After their losses against the Zulu, the British were unwilling to commit additional troops to the region and granted the Republic independence after losing hundreds in bloody skirmishes. Even as an uneasy peace finally settled over South Africa, events began moving along the Mediterranean coast. The Ottoman tributary of Egypt had been the focus of European attention
Wow,
since
the Ottoman
completion
Empire.
of the Suez Canal in 1869, which had justified its enormous production costs by finally providing European traders with a quick route to Asia. After decades of wasteful spending by the Khedives, or governors of Egypt, and a recently clumsy invasion of Ethiopia, European creditors effectively owned the country, sparking an anti-colonial nationalist coup led by former army officer Ahmed Arabi in 1879. Seeing a golden opportunity, the British declared...
You see how that boy riding hard on it? He hard, boy.
Ami Arabi.
support for the deposed Khedive, Mohammed Pasha, and dispatched a large expedition to crush the revolt. During the following Anglo-Egyptian War, men aboard the British warships deliberated long and hard about how to quell the unrest and restore order. So logically, they opened fire and burnt the entire city to the ground.
Ooh.
Soon after, British troops landed and delivered a decisive defeat to the nationalists at the
Oh, they
Battle
had
of
fire too,
Tel El
with knives on the end.
With the indebted Khedive restored to power and English soldiers sitting comfortably in the Egyptian capital, the British Empire held control over both the country and the Suez Canal. Egypt would remain their unofficial colony until 1922. Despite their territorial gains in Egypt and a monopoly over trade in Asia via the Suez Canal and Cape Town, Britain's actual colonization efforts in Africa were still remarkably limited. The collapse of the slave trade also removed a primary motivator for European involvement in the interior of the continent.
Break
Most
every
nations continued
chain.
to squabble over the coastal trading ports. But during the 1880s, the Industrial Revolution had created an explosive new demand for Africa's natural resources. Additionally, rising population levels had created an impoverished underclass that were desperate to migrate overseas in search for a better life.
Ah.
Politics also played a role in a new surge of interest in African colonization. With no more room in Europe or the Americas, old rivals now began looking hungrily towards Africa as their next opportunity for expansion and dominance.
Is that where you get a lot of the white Africans that you see? You know, they just migrated from British colonies and stuff like that?
I guess so. I have no idea.
Tensions rose between the various colonial nations. German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck stepped forward to defuse the situation. At the Berlin Conference of 1884, representatives of 13 European nations and the United States agreed on a set of rules for the planned colonization of Africa. No African representatives were present. In just a few short years, the interior of Africa, formerly referred to as the white man's grave, became increasingly accessible.
White man's
Steamships
grave.
were making journeys to the southern regions less daunting, and the first train tracks were already being laid. Medicines that could combat lethal tropical diseases, such as malaria and yellow fever, were also
The
coming
biggest
into
ones.
common use. Machine guns were the last equalizing factor, allowing
Wow, look at that fire.
armies to confidently subdue natives with little fear of retaliation.
Yeah, because once you start making a gun that will shoot automatically, you done shot a whole 30 click, 30 versus having to have 3 men shoot 1 bullet.
Right.
Brrrr. Machine guns took stuff down, man.
Yeah.
However, machine guns could only partially compensate for the British tendency to underestimate their native enemies.
Wow.
They were soon embroiled in yet another major conflict.
Oh.
This time it was with the Kingdom of Benin, located in what is now
Oh my God.
What just You got all that firepower and still
Babe, he said,
Shaka got you with the spear.
ugh.
What happened? Now you can't. Now you ain't no man on the machine gun.
They don't have nobody
I
manning
was
it.
not expecting
They don't
that.
have nobody manning it.
Oh my gosh.
Modern Nigeria. The kingdom was a major exporter of palm oil and rubber, but refused to trade with Britain after becoming suspicious of their intentions. These suspicions proved to be correct when a British official named James Robert Phillips was discovered trying to sneak a force of 250 African soldiers into the Benin capital city. This disguised force was promptly slaughtered, and only 2 officers escaped alive.
Ooh.
After this embarrassing debacle, the British openly invaded with a second force of around 1,200 men. Using the massacre of their African soldiers as justification, the new army marched through Benin territory, destroying every settlement they encountered. Resistance to the invasion was fierce, but
Wow.
the Benin capital was captured after a 10-day siege. After admiring its elaborate infrastructure, beautiful temples, and massive earthen walls, the British deliberated long and hard about how to ease tensions and restore order. So, logically, they burnt the whole city to the ground and congratulated themselves on a job well done. But just as it seemed like the Empire was getting a handle on the native situation in Africa, news arrived that prospectors digging in the Boer Republic of Transvaal had discovered a vast deposit of gold. Influential British politician and ruthless businessman Cecil
Rich.
Rhodes quickly became obsessed with controlling this trade. But the British government was wary of another direct conflict with the Boers. Thus, Rhodes used his position as founder of the British South Africa Company to embark on a campaign of deliberate provocation.
Look at here,
This
that
led to
fire.
the Second Boer War in 1899, during which the company targeted the Boers with brutal acts of repression that left whole communities destroyed, and thousands carted off to the first concentration camps in history.
Wow.
In these camps, the Boers were deliberately neglected, and at least 46,000 died of starvation or disease.
Oh,
Of
man.
these deaths, about 20,000 were natives caught up in the conflict, but the remaining 26,000 were Boer women and children. After nearly 3 years of bushfighting, the beleaguered remnants of the Boer republics finally capitulated and allowed themselves to be unified into a semi-autonomous dominion known as the Union of South Africa.
Wow.
In addition to subduing the Boers, Cecil Rhodes was also primarily responsible for the British push south of Egypt into Sudan, where they acquired many other territories in an effort to outcompete French and German interests in the region. This southern expansion quickly sparked conflict with the modest Sudanese, who had united in a jihad against foreign interference and were led by a charismatic Muslim preacher called Muhammad Ahmad. The resulting modest war would eventually expand to include multiple European powers and only ended after 9 years of brutal desert warfare. This was the war that saw the death of Governor General Charles Gordon, one of the most senior British officials to be killed in Africa by hostile action. With the natives subdued and the scramble for Africa starting to wind down, the British began refocusing their efforts from expansion to consolidation. In 1904, they signed the Entente Cordiale with France, ending decades of animosity and finally enabling both nations to turn their full attention on the German Empire. The South African colonies would have immense strategic value in any future European conflict because of their position on one of the only 2 viable routes to the Indian Ocean. Wary of future uprisings by their African subjects, the British adopted a policy of appeasement towards the white Afrikaner minorities, granting them additional powers and privileges under the colonial administration.
Wait a minute
This
now.
policy naturally resulted in the normalization of various overtly racist ideologies and would directly lead to the foundation of apartheid in the 1940s.
Apartheid.
Eventually, the Union of South Africa would steadily drift away from the empire as it entered its twilight years, finally severing all ties in 1961. The remnants of the British legacy in Africa include colonial architecture and extensive infrastructure projects that remain functional to this day. However, those foundations rest on centuries of genocide, discrimination, and exploitation, most of which were deliberately enforced to destabilize native cultures in order to pave way for colonial rule. But today, the continent is rebuilding, with many nations undergoing some of the highest rates of economic development in the world, in some cases even surpassing the growth rates of their former occupiers. If you would like to see more videos on colonial or African powers, please let us know in the comments.
He enjoyed doing this research.
Now he did, but I enjoyed every bit of that video and that education because it gave me something to look at, and that was it wasn't boring. It wasn't boring. Let me just be real. It wasn't boring, and he made that really good. You could tell he put that time into that.
I like the animation too, as well. That makes it always more, to me, a little bit more lively.
I agree.
And that was a lot of information.
That was a lot of information.
But it was like they was just, fighting over there left and right.
Bro, when they brought the machine guns out there, I'm like,
sorry.
They done brought some real fire here. And I was just, but when your boy had that machine gun and still got hit with the harpoon.
I know, but it seems like they kept going over to conquer, and then they would fight, the British would lose, and then they would come back, and then they would win.
Yep.
So the Africans put up a
big fight.
Heck of a fight.
So when people start thinking, this just still goes back to everything we talk about. When people go back to thinking that, slaves just willingly, they just get up and conquer. No way.
No,
it was not easy.
I remember hearing about and reading about Shaka Zulu. The Zulu tribe was known for some keen warriors and how they were, great fighters.
For sure.
But I didn't really know how this all transpired because Africa is a humongous continent.
That's bigger. That's bigger than all the huge.
Humongous. I was like, man, and all of the resources are so over there. And of course, once they continue to find them, they were going to want to go and
absolutely,
colonize it. But still,
because I'm sure. Is that where this came from?
I don't.
Because you can't. Well, yes, you can. I think you can when you go by your gold. You can ask them where did it. I know diamonds you can, but I wonder if gold you can ask them where it came from.
Okay, I don't know. That's diamonds gold. I don't know
forever.
How rose gold is made. Is that even a real metal, or do they?
It's made from rose petals.
Oh, okay. But anyway.
But no, that was awesome, and I didn't know that they were I thought that fire power trumped everything, and apparently it didn't only. It did eventually. But it didn't only. And imagine if the Zulus had weapons like the Ashanti. Imagine if they had weapons like the Ashantis.
They only conquered when they had an opportunity to come back, and they were able to survey the land. So they had already been on. They got defeated. I don't know if it was everything, but it seems like they came over. The warriors stood their ground, did their thing, and just came swarming, but they didn't have enough men. Then they came back. They doubled up their men.
Yeah.
And had somewhat of an idea as to where to go. The warriors got defeated.
Do you know, to this day, Joy, Snapper? Look, they always say, Joy, it's Snapper. Why you say Joy? That's my wife. I resort to first name, last name. But do you know there are tribes to this day, that people cannot get to, and if you get over there to them, they will kill you on sight. To this day. There was a guy, I don't know what it was. It was big at one time. It was a tribe. I don't know what nationalities.
This was a journey American missionary John Chow was warned against taking. The island was off limits to protect outsiders and the tribe, which has no immunity to modern diseases. This morning, investigators are trying to figure out who else might have been involved in that fatal mission.
Today, this remote island in the Indian Ocean is the focus of an investigation. Where is American missionary John Chow's body? This morning, 7 people, including fishermen accused of taking him there, are under arrest. More may be under suspicion.
Race of these people are, but he somehow found them.
Where?
No, there are Indian tribes like that too.
Is this in Africa?
I'm not sure what this is. Not in the U.S. though, of course. I think so.
Africa.
I think so. Or I don't know where this was. I'm not sure. I just can't. But I am going to look it up. But this guy went over there. I don't know how he found it, but he only lasted over for a quick minute before they had killed that man as soon as he got over there. It's still certain places where you get killed on sight.
You keep saying there.
I don't know what country this was. I know in Africa there's still spots.
So how you gonna tell a story you don't know where it is? Where you hear from?
You just
Who
jealous
told
because you
you
ain't
that?
had that information.
Who told you that?
You just jealous. Just saying in front of the camera.
But no, I'm just saying.
I'm jealous because I didn't
need
think
to know some facts. I need to know facts. Who told you where and what? Right. Who? What tribe? What continent? Where is there? That's all I'm trying to figure out. Okay. He don't know.
I'm going to pull it up because it was a big
Send
thing.
it to me and we're going to come back and
That
talk about it.
That
Show
man
me
got
the
met with
article.
arrows before he get over there. I think this was like 5-10 years ago. It's still traps. You think everybody over here got colored TV? Everybody got flat screens.
There are so many places on the planet that we are so clueless of, and because how many countries are there? Continents? I mean, it's like we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Some places might, even be inhabitable.
You just thought that word. You put that together.
No, it's a word.
You are so lucky you started
Inhabitable.
wearing prettier of the nice neutral colors. Because I can't even say anything to you. Yeah, exactly. Breathe. All right, but I really did enjoy that. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah,
That was a
this
quick
was
20
good.
minutes. Normally boring stuff, I'm like, come on, hurry
Y'all be
up.
catching me dozing a little bit. But
Yeah.
this time I was not dozing. I was like, oh my God, this is so
My baby,
interesting.
how many videos have you been like this? Look at me from the side. Look.
Y'all.
Look. No, I ain't finished. Look. And then you doze off, and then you'll come back in it like you've been there the whole time. Yeah, right? I'm like, baby, they ain't even talking right now.
But this was really good and interesting. And I like how he broke it down because it showed you how the war, how it actually happened.
The war, Craig.
They lost, they won.
They lost.
They won. They lost, they won.
And then when they got machine guns, it was over. Because you could just take down a gang of people off one hit.
Yeah.
All right, man. I really enjoyed that. The
too.
British colonization of Africa.
You can take down multiple people with that one hit until that sphere come. I'm sorry, y'all. Till that sphere come out from your brother from way back there who came with it. Whoosh. I was like, stop it. He got all this firepower. And my boy, through the sphere, gone. Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Y'all
Like,
know
comment,
we
subscribe.
crazy.
Don't take a nosedive, but comment down in the section below if you want some.
See you on the next video.
Yeah.